question for Scott. How do you estimate job costs accurately in order to avoid budget overruns?
Use ProLine. Use the budgets in ProLine. Honestly, we job cost before we ever even send a crew out. Before we even give the customer a quote, we know what that job should profit. We're very good with the contingencies in our quote. Not that we're like sticklers with a contract, like here's the contract, that's the way it is. We just have some very simple contingencies that you're 99% of the time contingencies. The quote's the quote. That's what you're going to pay. The contingencies show if there's an anomaly, plywood, rafters. We know what we're going to make on that job before we ever step foot on it because of how, honestly, the budget in ProLine and it builds it right in. My guys don't even have to do anything. Like I can just, it's not an additional step. It's just part of our sales process. You get into other trades, it's not as simple, right? Like it gets a little bit more complex. If you're doing siding or maybe solar or something like that, it does add a little bit more complexity to where there's some other maybe anomalies that kind of change that super bottom line price list. But I think you can still get it to where it's within a couple percent plus or minus. And in my opinion, if you can't buff in a percent or two and you win some, you lose some on that. If you're losing all the time, then you need to make a change. But if you're winning some and losing some, then you need to just stick right there, play the game. It'll all work out at the end of the year.
ProLine has some very powerful budgeting and costs tracking, but I do like how you take that a step further and have those items in your terms and conditions for those contingencies where you are accounting for those scenarios like extra OSB board and stuff, and that's just in your contract right out of the gate.
And it's almost an additional contract, right? Like we've got like a one pager that's like what to expect from us, generic contract. But that's almost even like another step that we take that's, not even maybe a quarter page, but they have to initial it. And that's the best part in that. And what ProLine does for you, you have to initial it. So they read that if there's a second layer of shingles, it's going to cost X per square. You had to read it because you literally initialed right next to it. So if you were foolish enough to initial that and not take the 2 seconds to read it, that's kind of on you at that point.